Hello and welcome to our seminar, EVM 101. EVM stands for Earned Value Management, and that's a simple project monitoring and reporting technique. Are we making a profit on this job? That's how your CFO sees the world. As a project manager, you should be more interested in, are we on time and are we on budget? And a great PM can accurately estimate a cost at completion and a completion date. So how do they do that? Well, hello, I'm Paul Hemmings. I'm the head of product for Total Synergy, where we specialise in practice management software for the AEC industry for people just like you. And now we're going to have a look at a simple project management technique you can start using today. First of all, what's the difference between project accounting and project management? With project accounting, you keep track of the hours, related costs, and other key tasks related to a specific project. Project accounting differs from traditional accounting in that it focuses only on the transactions related to a particular project. Project management, on the other hand, project management is the use of specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver something of value. So let's just have a look at a worked example of that. So on our road trip, we get that question, are we there yet? Dad says we've been driving for an hour and you've eaten a bag of jelly beans. Mum says it will take another 2 hours and go easy on the jelly beans. That's right, Dad is a project accountant and Mum's a project manager. That's the difference. One is looking at where we are exactly right now, and the other one is predicting the future and trying to get the result. If you've been working with project accounting systems, you're familiar with screens like this. So this is where we look at our project financials. It's a beautiful page with lots of numbers in it, but we're going to look at things like we want to be able to track what was the agreed fee, what have we invoiced to date, what's the residual that we haven't yet invoiced, what do we have as work in progress, that kind of thing. Or else we might look at the financials in terms of recovery. In this case, we're looking at how much have we charged compared to how much have we costed on our timesheets, and are we billing all of the time that we've charged. So that's an easy way just to make sure that you're invoicing all the work that you do. Another look is the profitability, where we can have a look at what it's cost us so far, how much have we invoiced so far, and is there anything left over as a profit? But have you ever had a situation where a job was running profitably in the early stages, but wasn't profitable upon completion? McKinsey tells us that for large projects in our industry, they typically take 20% longer to finish than was scheduled and are up to 80% over budget. So we're not doing a great job when it comes to project management. As Peter Drucker said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So let's have a look at EVM. So what is EVM? Earned Value Management is a project management methodology that integrates schedule, cost, and scope to measure project performance. Based on planned and actual values, EVM predicts the future and enables project managers to adjust accordingly. So if you're a highly professional project manager, you'll be working with EVM and producing screens like this. This is what's called an S-curve. There's a lot of maths and graphing going on in that, but that's certainly not what we're going to do today. We're going to have a look at a much simpler version. So I tend to track a lot of projects, so I quite like a screen like this. In this case, we've simplified the S-curves into that little graphical widget in the middle of the page, and that tells me quite a lot about how we're going in terms of schedules and costs. So let's just see how that works. So first of all, you need to start off with a work breakdown structure. A work breakdown structure simply is a way of splitting a big job into a bunch of smaller deliverables. Another way to think about it is like line items on an invoice. On a large job, this can be quite detailed. On a large job, you might also want to run that through into a project schedule where you can drag and drop your whole phases of a project according to the external project pressures. And having done that, you're updating revenue forecasts and capacity planning and all that kind of thing. You don't need to go to that extent to just to run EVM. For the purpose of this discussion, we're just going to have one task, and the example project is going to be produce the documentation for a small project. It's going to be 10 drawings, including plans, elevations, sections, details. A nice simple documentation job. So the next thing we need is a budget. How much do you think you're going to need to spend to be able to deliver that work? So using a bit of a finger in the air, let's say we know that on average we can churn out a drawing in maybe 2 days. So 2 days of drawing by 10 drawings, 160 hours, $200 an hour, say $32,000 is our budget. Note that that's not the fee. You might round that up to 35,000 and make an extra profit, but you still want your project manager to be working towards the 160 hours, which is the budget. Then you need a schedule. In this case, the schedule is very simple. It's just one line item. So basically, it's when do we want this to be complete? And again, with our example, 2 days per drawing times 10 drawings, that'll take 20 days. And lastly, we need to track earned value. Earned value is just a fancy way to ask, how much do you think you have done? So in this example, let's say I've done 3 out of 10 drawings, therefore I'm 30% of the way through the scope of the work. So let's picture that, coming back to those widgets you saw on that page before. It starts off with a line where the line represents the duration of the project. In this case, the line represents 20 days. Over the top of that, we draw a bubble, which indicates the elapsed time. So if we're 10 days into the schedule, then we're 50% of the way through, and it would look something like that. The next thing we look at is charges, with the charges coming off our timesheets. So we had a budget of 160 hours. I can see from my timesheets 64 hours has gone on to this project, so therefore we're 40% of the way through. So 40% on the charges and 50% on time. And then the next thing we track is how much earned value we have. So the PM's estimate is that we're 30% of the way through that scope. We've earned 30% of the value. So 30% of the value, 40% of the charges, 50% of the time. So now that we've got that picture, what does it tell us and what can we do with it? So first of all, we can compare how much of the value have we achieved compared with how much of the budget we've spent. In earned value management terms, that's called a cost performance index. The maths is pretty simple. We've done 30% of the work. We've put on 40% of the charges. You divide one by the other, you get what's called the cost performance index, or CPI, and in this case it's 0.75. Having a CPI, we can go back to our budget and look for a cost at completion. So if our budget was 32,000, we divide that by the CPI, and we end up with an estimated cost at completion of 41,000. What that's telling us is that if we continue to charge at the rate we're charging and deliver the value, deliver the scope of work at the rate that we're delivering it, we're going to spend a lot more money than we had originally budgeted for. And then we can do the same for the schedule. So in this case, we're looking at how much have we achieved compared to how much time we've spent, and that's called the schedule performance index. The maths is the same. We look at what we've done and we compare that with the time we used. Divide one by the other gives us a schedule performance index of 0.6, and from that we can get the estimated date of completion. So whereas we originally thought it was going to take 20 days, at the rate that we're delivering work, it won't take 20 days. We just divide the 20 by the 0.6 and we end up with 33 days. So you can clearly see from the widget and from the earned value management calculations that are done there, that this project is going to be behind schedule and over budget. Your systems don't need to get very complicated to be able to do this. So long as you're recording your time and you've got a budget, you can do this maths in an Excel spreadsheet, or perhaps your practice management system, such as Synergy, would be able to do that for you as well. So now that we know how to read those, what does that look like? The top widget's showing a project which is in trouble. So in that case, we can see that it's behind schedule and it's overspending. So it's going to be behind schedule, and it's going to be over budget. The bottom widget is showing a 5-star project, in which case we've done more than we had expected to do by now. We've charged less than we would have expected. So we're going to come in ahead of schedule and we're going to come in under budget. So summarising all that, looking back at that portfolio window, you can see that those widgets can be used in a report to show how all of your projects are going. You can just run your eye down and look at each of those widgets and you get an idea of exactly how you're tracking. On the right-hand side, you can see we've got a column for CPI and SPI. If the value is not great, then it's showing in red, and if the value is pretty terrible, it's in a red box, so it's highlighting where the problems are. In Prince2, they call that management by exception. So this tool is helping me see the exceptions, the projects which are in trouble, the projects that are going to need some of my attention. This was EVM 101, so we've skipped a lot of the detail. This is just a very high-level overview. But you can see here that we can drill into a project and get a lot more EVM stats that tell us other ways of looking at how our project is tracking. But we can go into those details at another time. So in summary, if you've got a budget, which of course you should have a budget, and you have a schedule, and of course you need to have some kind of schedule, and you're automatically tracking your costs through your timesheets, which hopefully you're using a half-decent practice management system that's doing that for you, then all you have to do is report the progress or the earned value. And then you'll get management reporting basically for free. So are you ahead or behind on budget? Are you ahead or behind on schedule? What's the estimated date of completion? And what's the estimated cost of completion? These are the questions that are going to be shot at any project manager, and every project manager should be able to answer these questions straight off the top of their head. So a system like Earned Value Management gives you a very easy way to produce that kind of reporting. Thank you. That's the end of this seminar for today. I hope you've learned a little bit about EVM, and I hope you can see that with the right systems in place, it's an easy way for you to get control of your projects, and you can have a go at that at the end of this seminar. If you want to learn a little bit more about EVM, please feel free to give us a call. Thank you.